Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Jo and this is Joey Sewy, and today we're going to talk about all the things I sewed in June. Well, I am so happy, I'm going to do a little happy dance, that I can start this video differently to the way I started my what I sewed in April and what I sewed in May videos, because I can start this video by saying I've sewed some things. In fact, I've sewed loads of things. I think I must have been abducted by aliens. I feel like one of a real actual sewing YouTuber who shows you thing after thing after thing each month, you know, the people, and you go, how do you sew all that stuff? Well, today, I'm sorry, I'm one of those. I'm not sorry. But I am really happy. I'm a bit overexcited. Can you tell? Calm down. Okay, so yeah, I have things to show you and I'm really pleased about it. So let's start with what I'm wearing. This is a blouse, a sleeveless blouse. I've got it out at the back and tucked in at the front, and that's what it looks like when it's not tucked in. This is based on the Pauline Alice Carme blouse, but it is a change to that pattern. The obvious change is there's no sleeves. I actually cut out the sleeves and then I thought, oh, it's so hot, I really would like a sleeveless blouse, and my sewing was kind of slowing down a little bit by then, and I was thinking I don't really want to do the sleeves. So for those two very good reasons, this doesn't have sleeves, and I'm really pleased I made that choice because it is still so hot, and I didn't have any sleeveless blouses and now I do. But the other change I made is more significant. The first is I lost the bib. So if you know the blouse, I'll put a picture here. And actually later in the video you will see an actual blouse made exactly to the instructions, so you don't even have to look at that if you don't want. But it has a bib, okay? So not literally a bib to catch your food, but it has an inset panel here, which on the pattern it is all pin tucked or pleated and then sewn down with top stitching, which is a great detail. I love it. But this time I wanted to simplify things. And the other thing I did, which you will be able to see, this V is not created because I've made a size that's too small, but it's created by some drafting I was trying to do. I have a ready-to-wear top made out of viscose. This is viscose from Regency Rags Fabrics on eBay, and they do still have some available actually, so I'll put a link down below because I was browsing the other day. Shouldn't be fabric shopping, but I was. So yeah, this is viscose from Regency Rags Fabrics. There you can have a close-up of it. It's lovely umbrella pattern, slightly transparent as you can see, but not massively. I'm not wearing a slip under here, so that's what you can see. And this V shape is created by manipulating the pattern. Now it's not gone perfectly. I'm not entirely sure if there was something I should have done that I didn't do, but I haven't been able to think of what I should have done, so I'll explain what I did. Basically, Pauline Alice blouse should fasten like that. Often you see it worn open, and that's exactly how I've worn it, but it's drafted to be straight up here. I have a ready-to-wear blouse that has a half placket, so this is the placket, and it goes down to here, so it's not open all the way down, that comes up here and then does a V shape, and I wanted to copy that. And as soon as I started looking at, initially I thought, oh well, that's fine, I'll cut the centre front and then I'll just cut it back like that, simples. But not if you're doing a half placket. You can't do that because you cut the whole of this piece on the fold. So this is on the fold, and then the way you insert it is you basically partly sew this on and then slit down. So you can't do that on the fold, it's simply not possible. So what I did instead was, this is still placed on the fold, but I took out two big V sections here so that when I wore it, those two big V sections would be expressed by pulling this apart. So that's what I did. But if any of you have got, the thing is, it messed up the sleeve, the top of the shoulder seam. Can't speak today. Can either speak really fast or forget all the words apparently. But it messed up the shoulder seam a little bit, so I kind of saved it by fiddling around with the collar. But because I was taking a big V out here, this shoulder seam got really short, and yeah, I wasn't quite sure how to change that. So if any of you have got a marvellous idea about that, I'd love to hear it. But generally, I am pretty happy with how this blouse, hello again, with how this blouse turned out. It is really breezy, which is what you need in this kind of weather. I didn't have to change the draft of the armhole, because quite often if you just leave the armholes off, you find that this armhole here is either too small or too big to be appropriate sleevelessly, but there's no gaping going on, but it's nice and low, so I've got plenty of air circulation, which when you're hot is very important. So yeah, my look was in when I was changing this pattern, and it worked really well. I finished the arms with bias binding, which I hand sewed in. So I sewed the first line on with machine, and then I whipped it around, and then I hand sewed that. And then also I was messing around with the hem, and basically I started doing classic hairdresser trick where I was like, oh no, that side's a little bit short, we better, sorry, that side, they're not straight, okay, so we need to shorten this side. And then you go, oh no, that side's not straight, and then you need to shorten this side, and so you get shorter and shorter hair if it's a hairdresser thing. When it's a blouse thing, you start getting shorter and shorter, and so I would have rather this was another maybe inch longer. But by the time I'd faffed around with going, I don't like the curve with that, I'll just take a little bit off that side. Oh no, now I'll have to take a little bit off that side. And yeah, I was starting to creep up, and I was going to end up with a crop top, which is not what I was going for. And so I also did the hem by hand with bias binding. Hang on, you don't want my face. There we go. I could just take it off to show you, let's be honest. Maybe I should do that. So the bias binding, there is the seam for the bias binding, and then it flips to the inside, and that was the way I could think of that was going to preserve as much of the length that I still had left. So that's the first thing I'm wearing, that I've sewn this month. The second thing, this is not in order, it's just in order that I pick them up from the side of me. The second thing are the trousers that I'm wearing, so let me show you those. There you go. Okay. So there you go. These are Thurlow trousers by Sewaholic, slightly altered in two ways. The first way is I've made the waistband much deeper. So this is approximately double the waistband that the original pattern comes with. And the way I did that was very simple. I basically just took the original one and then made it deeper. But I did know that because I have a very significant difference between here and here, it's a very curved waistband piece. So you do need to bear in mind that you can't, unless you're a very straight up and down body, in which case you can do this. But if you do have a curve in at the waist and out at the hip, then when you draft this, you can't just make it wider, you're going to also have to make this line shorter than this line, which is what means you end up with a really curved waistband piece. And I have done a video all about Thurlow trousers, so I will link that down below, down there, and at the end of the video. So I made the waistband deeper. This area is all the same, except that I made the trousers, they're a wide trouser anyway, but I made them even wider by introducing pleats here, which they're not actually equal length. I keep meaning to go back and unpick that, but there are pleats here. They're not very big pleats, and I took the proportions off a ready-to-wear pair of trousers that I wore out. I wore them to death because I loved them so much, but they're about an inch each. Okay, so they're about that thick. So they introduce about 2 inches extra width across the front of the trousers. Not here, which is why I pleat them, because I like the they're not tight, but they just fit well and nice and sleek here. So in the widest part of your body, you're not adding width, and in the narrowest part of your body, you're coming in, and it's nice and flattering. But then where you want the airy, we're all about the breeze this month, but where you want that, then the pleat gives you extra. Okay, at the back, you can spot my deliberate mistake, which was totally not deliberate. So can you see that? I basically cut the waistband too short. I don't know how I did that because I've made it from this pattern, exactly this pattern before with the changes. But yes, I cut the waistband too short, and I did have enough left to cut it again, but I was lazy, so I just added a little segment in there. Yeah, these are made out of a linen, I think it's a linen viscose mix, it might be linen polyester mix, but it's heavy on the linen. They've been worn for quite a number of days, so it's not creasing crazily, and the fact that it's a linen mix is one of the reasons why it isn't creasing crazily, because the polyester or the viscose, whatever it is that's mixed in, takes a little bit of that tendency of linen to go bananas and look like a dish rag after a while. The other thing I did was put these buttons on the front. These buttons I got from Woolfest, from a button seller there. Oh, the buttons were gorgeous, and I'm going to do a separate video about her because she's just wonderful. But I got these beautiful dragonfly buttons. There you go. I don't know whether you can see that. I've got these beautiful dragonfly buttons from her, and before I went to Woolfest, I was going to do this as a hidden closure, so you wouldn't have had buttons, you would have just had hook and bars on the inside. Then I was at Woolfest, I saw these buttons and I thought, nope, definitely changing my mind, I know exactly what I'm doing. And they are deliberately slightly on a diagonal, partly because I knew from the last pair of trousers I made like this, I needed that diagonal because the top still needed to be a little bit snugger, and also I quite like that, so I haven't got it wonky, it's deliberate. So these are the second thing I made this month, and I adore these trousers. I'm basically living in them at the moment. They are cool, but they let me cover up, so they are a total winner. Hello, I'm back. I love the Thurlow trousers pattern. It is, for my body, it's a complete winner, and I will continue making it over and over and over again because it's just fantastic. So for the other things I've been making, I will have to go off and do a quick change, so wait there, I'll be right back. I'm back. And I hope you appreciate this, but it is boiling outside and I'm wearing a woolly jumper for you, so yeah. I didn't knit this month, but I did finish this month. This pattern is called Mud Season, and it's a free download on Ravelry, which is Result. It's just a basic t-shirt in quite a chunky yarn, and it's got some eyelets here to do the armhole shaping. So you knit it from the, do you go bottom up or top down? Let's have a look. Tell me. Top down. Okay, you go top down and you knit it in the round, which is the way I often prefer to knit. Yeah, so it's all good. I like it very much. It was a self-striping yarn. It's discontinued. It's by Rowan, called Colorscape Chunky, so it's a chunky knit as well. And if I give you a lovely close-up, let's go down again, but there you go. You've got a nice close-up of the yarn. You knit this neckline on afterwards. You knit the sleeves one by one, I think. Yeah, you knit them in the round one by one, and you knit all the way down to the ribbing at the bottom, so you can choose how long it is. I am melting wearing this at the moment because this yarn is 100% wool, and it's about 25 degrees outside and getting hotter. It's the hottest it's been in England for years in my memory. It's crazy hot, or at least consistently hot. So, but you know, because I care about you guys, I'm showing you what I made. So I have knitted and finished this month, and I'm very pleased with it. Coming up next. Whew, that's better. Back into something cooler. So here we are, another blouse. It's not, probably wouldn't wear it with the trousers because it's grey, but not the same grey. I don't know, maybe not. I like the shape together. Anyway, this blouse is a Calais shirt. Okay, so it's not, it looks very similar to the Carme blouse I was showing you earlier. This one does a V shape because of the way you wear it on your shoulders. Okay, so you can wear it and you can go together. It's really far too tight up there for me. It's definitely at this time of year. So it does a V shape by the way that you wear it, not by the way it's cut. Again, it's a half placket. I really like half placket shirts. They're a bit scary to make before you start making them because you have to slice into your fabric partway through the making process, and that is a bit terrifying. This is probably the worst fabric in the world to show you the bottom of a half placket. So maybe I'll show you on the next make. But you've got the V shape there, and then the blouse itself just carries on as solid fabric below. I chose these ombre buttons. They are straight, honestly, but that's where they start to go apart. So you've got light pink at the top and going down to dark pink at the bottom. That was both a practical choice and a style choice, because these were the buttons that I had, basically. And then I was playing around with from my button stash, which is fairly extensive, and thought, oh, ombre buttons, that seems like a good plan. So yeah, this is a Calais shirt. The length is not one that's in the pattern, I don't think, because there's a crop length. There are 3 lengths in the pattern. There's a crop length, a shirt length, and a tunic length. And this hasn't got a significant difference between the front and the back. There's a tiny difference, but not huge. So this is basically a length I made up according to what I wanted to wear. The fabric is, I've had it a long time. I reckon I've had this in my stash at least 10 years. It's some kind of polyester, I would say. It's not the coolest fabric in the world, but again, the Calais has pretty good ventilation. I'm all about the ventilation still. It drapes pretty well. It doesn't crease. I think you could probably screw this up into a ball, put it in your suitcase, get it out, and it would look like you just ironed it. So that's quite a winner, even if it's not the most breathable. It's nice and flappy. All these new words for you. It's nice and flappy, so it doesn't matter so much that it's a synthetic, not to me anyway, and I can layer it up in the winter. So there is, what are we on, number 4, and we have 3 more to go. Get me! Yeah, 3 more to go. So let's get the next one. Next one. Now, you've seen this already if you follow my channel. If you don't follow my channel, then you should. This transfer is my 2,000 subscriber giveaway to celebrate that, which I passed a couple of weeks ago. Super exciting. So if you want to grab this transfer, there's still a few days. I can't remember when I said it would finish, but sometime this week I think I said it would finish. You just have to follow me on Instagram and then send me a private message on Instagram. And if you struggle to do that, just comment on any post that you don't know how to send a private message, and I'll tell you another way to get in touch with me. So yeah, I made this pattern is the Jane. Well, it started out as the Jane t-shirt from Sewn. I've done a pattern review of making this t-shirt, which I'll link down below, so I won't talk about it here, but basically that's what it started out as. I had to change lots of things, so don't look at this on me and think that it's the Jane pattern, because it's so changed. It's really not. But I do like how it is now that I've changed it, and I do love my t-shirt warning. Next. I think I'm getting more and more dishevelled as I whip my clothes on and off. Anyway, this is the shirt that I have been teasing you with for the last 2 months, is it? It's not a really long make. It's not a super quick make, but it just, yeah, life got in the way, didn't it? And as I said in the last couple of What Have I Been Making videos, but it didn't get in the way in June. I put sewing in the way of life, and I finished this blouse. So this is the Calais blouse from Pauline Alice, which I mentioned the very first thing I made in this video, the white shirt with the umbrellas on. That was based on that pattern but heavily modified. This is exactly the pattern as drafted. So I'm really into half tucks at the moment, so I'm tucking everything in at the front and not at the back. So it has a bib. Let me see if I can show you. I don't really like calling it a bib. It makes me feel like a child, but not in a good way. So, but it is what it is. That's the technical term. So here you go. You can see just about, I know it's very busy fabric, you can see the insert and you can see the tucks there, and perhaps you can see the top stitching. So I did it all in an orange shade because there's so many colours in this. I had freedom to choose. Again, buttons from my stash, again half placket. Let's see if we can get you a good close-up of the half placket. So that's the end, and then it's sewn closed here across the end of the bib, and then it comes up, and it has a mandarin collar. So it does have bust darts. You probably can't see them, but they are in here. They shape it a little bit, And the way I've cut it, as ever with things I make, it's narrower at the waist on the pattern and further out at the hips, but there's still plenty. What I love about this is in the drafting she's managed to do that magical thing of making something that feels loose when you wear it but looks shapely when it's on as well. So yeah, I mean, isn't that magical that you can wear something that feels like it gives you freedom but also gives you a beautiful shape? So that's why I'll be making it again. This was my second. The umbrella one was my third, slightly modified, and I can definitely see myself making it again. And yeah, it's great. It has long sleeves. Ooh, there you go, long sleeve. What is with me today? The cuffs are just a rectangle. They're gathered. They have a what is that called? That's the sleeve placket, and it's just a bound sleeve placket. They do have buttons here. The reason why I haven't got the buttons done up, well, it's two. First of all, I made a mistake that I believe from watching someone else's review that the cuffs should actually be fastened with a loop so that they get a little bit more width, and that does make sense because they come out pretty narrow. But I've made this twice now and I swear that the pattern says do it with a button, so I don't know. But the other reason, and another reason to like this pattern, is that it has, I can't do it up, there we go, it has a sleeve tab, so you can roll your sleeves up to about half length, but then you can roll them up and they can look neat. So you've got the option of number 1 or number 2 and definitely in this weather we're going for number 2. This is my Liberty fabric that I got back in March. So it's a cotton, it's one of their current season's prints. I'm in love with this blouse. I could wear it every day forever for the rest of my life. Yeah, so yeah, totally and utterly love it. And what I also love is the insides of this blouse, because every single seam is French seamed or enclosed, and I did that. I thought I'd do a close-up of the interior of my Carme blouse. So there is the French seam on the armhole, which until recently I didn't even know that was possible. But it is possible to do a French seam on an armhole, and this blouse is here to prove it to you. I'll do a tutorial on it if you would like to see that one day. In fact, I've got a tutorial, what am I saying? I've got a tutorial that I have made, I just need to get around to editing it. So here's the French seam on the shoulder. And then, of course, there are French seams, of course, on the side seam. The only place that I couldn't work out how to enclose the seam at this stage was where the bib is inserted, which is here. And the perfectionist inside me is quite annoyed about the raw edges around that bib. The only way I can think of doing it any differently is by hand sewing all the edges under, which I could do because I did hand sew the hem. Didn't hand sew the buttonholes. So you're seeing the rear side of the buttonholes, so that's not the perfect side of them, but they're okay. That's the raw edge of the bib. Not the most perfect bit, but the rest of it's perfect, so I don't care. Enclosed. And I did the hem by hand, so this is total kind of, yeah, I think this might be the best thing I've ever made. Just saying. That's how much I love it, and I'm super proud of it. Yes. So there is one other thing that I sewed this month, but I'm not going to show you yet. Not because I'm mean, but because this has actually already been quite a long video and there's quite a lot to say about the other thing I made. So it was my Jenny overalls, which I've already done one video about because I had such a dilemma. And I've taken it a step forward, but I haven't solved the dilemma. So I want to show you all about that because everyone was so interested, but I'll show you it in a dedicated video because there's more time to discuss it then. So that's the end of this video. We've had 1, 2, 3 blouses, 1 jumper, 1 pair of trousers and a t-shirt. I think I need to go and lie down in a darkened room. Thank you very, very much for watching. If you would like to see any of the other What Have I Been Making videos, and that playlist will be here. If you want to see anything else I've been doing, then you can have a look at another video here. I've got an ongoing series about my recent visit to Woolfest, which is an amazing wool and yarn festival, and I've got another couple of videos coming up about that quite soon, as well as all sorts of other good stuff. So if you'd like to subscribe, you can do that here. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.